What happens if the Rizzler doesn't want to do it anymore? Now, that's a ridiculous thing to say, just sentence wise, words wise. Those of you familiar with the Costco Guys universe, I hope you're ready for a treat. And those of you who don't know who the Costco Guys are, strap on in. Actually, no, go look them up. I've talked about them before, but I was just watching a YouTube video by Taylor Lorenz interviewing, I think his name's AJ Belmonte or something. Belmond, something like that. He's the dad of the Costco Guys. So it kind of started with him and his son. They like make videos just for fun and like sharing them. And then they started getting bigger and they did this thing in Costco. We're Costco Guys. We always get chicken bake, blah, blah, blah. And now it's gone super mega viral. They're sensations. They've even added a new young boy into the mix, the Rizzler, who is not AJ's son. I recommend this interview because you actually learn the origin story of the Rizzler, which is great. And it's so funny. I feel so many like psychic connections to the Costco Guys, even though in terms of, I don't know, influencer video style, like maybe outlooks on the world, it feels quite different. But I most certainly am a Costco guy. I mean, I just dressed up as the dad for a Halloween party last weekend. And then I learned some more about him. And it's funny, actually, I just started watching like 5 minutes into the video and was really enjoying it and was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And so I recorded an audio just reacting to that. But then I watched the rest of it, and that's when I started to go a little more. Not in a bad way. Like, I think the Costco Guy things are great. It seems like everyone's pretty happy, and it's like wild. They're huge, literally. So I believe him just because the absurdity of our times. But AJ literally said that both presidential campaigns have hit them up, and if that's true, and you know they have because they're one of the biggest things on the internet. But that's just so ridiculous, just patently ridiculous, the way that our attention economy works these days, that the Rizzler is getting involved. The Rizzler, by extension, is getting contacted by the campaigns. But anyway, I'm getting a little off track here. But the Costco Guy video, as it gets in, this is by Taylor Lorenz. She's really brilliant, and I like her stuff. And the way she focuses on the internet is like handling it in ways that I don't think a lot of writers and thinkers and publications do. And she really kind of has a feel for what's going on here. But the interview, it was kind of funny. So Taylor, she does ask questions regarding like using basically child actors. It's obviously a different thing because it's like family and it's also an influencer. Like social media isn't media, but it is, and even more important. I mean, the presidential campaigns are contacting the Rizzler. Anyway, this is all to say that when she kind of gets into, I don't know, more of like the ramifications of social media and just the nature of like mega virality, and like talking to AJ about like especially with kids, like, yeah, what if the Rizzler doesn't want to do it anymore? Like, have you thought about like the money stuff? How is that all structured? Like, she was really getting some good questions there. And he had good answers. He was pretty diplomatic. And what really made the most sense is when he was talking about like how much stuff he learned from Gary Vee. And I feel like I don't know that much about Gary Vee, but what I do know is he's basically kind of like this Gen Z Tony Robbins. He's very inspirational, very charismatic, and is all just about positivity and like doing your best and like have a positive attitude and blah 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 blah. And I think he's one of those dudes that has like all these extra things he can pay for and do coaching, and it's kind of like this whole community on top of like his own personality. And I find that shit really repulsive, but it makes sense that a fucking huge Italian dad, Costco guy AJ, is into him, and it's working out. Like he is crediting Gary for a lot of their success, and like he's definitely emulating him in that style. But it was interesting because when I learned about that influence of Gary Vee, it made sense kind of the other answers and the way he's handling stuff. And I have no reason to think that like this AJ guy is a bad dude or anything. But when Taylor was asking the questions, it just seemed like they were still in the highs of the rise and everything's going great and they're making lots of money, and like he's even hired employees. Like it's this whole business, and this is now where the family is spending their time and making their money from, being this like visible on the internet. But also they got offered to do reality shows and stuff and they declined that. So he knows that like the internet is kind of an intense place. Oh, but even Taylor was asking about like the negative comments or the vitriol you get. And AJ's answer was kind of like, no, I'm confident. Like, I know there's 999 positive ones, so I'm not going to worry about the negative one. And he's like, yeah, I'm confident. I that's like what he was saying. But that's also not how it works. Like, even though I am similar, like the negative stuff I get on Slobcore, I say it doesn't affect me too much. It doesn't. But it also, like, I react to it and I share it a lot of the times because it actually is the negative comments and the negative thoughts that are going to stick with you more. And so, yeah, I think I was just picking up kind of toxic positivity vibes from him. And even when he talked about, Taylor asked, oh, like, what are your kids' reactions? What do they think about the negative comments? Like, is that affecting them? And then he kind of played it off in the same way, just like, oh no, they're great confident kids, like they're fine. And so that was just, my hackles raised a little bit, and I'm not trying to be judgmental, I'm thinking out loud here. But I don't know if AJ's really thought or really considered further ramifications if like his son doesn't want to do it anymore, or like maybe the effect on the family and like what. So I started this video with, what if the Rizzler doesn't want to do it anymore? And I don't know that thought is being put in, or I worry it's not. And I see there's a lot of discourse around like social media all the time. It's like all anyone talks about, which makes sense because it's the places on the internet where a lot of stuff happens. But yeah, and I think about it a lot too, because who am I to judge? Like, I'm constantly sharing myself and my family and being very open here on the internet. And while I do think my stuff and the Costco Guys stuff is very different, it's also not. Like, as vulnerable as I am, it's always going to be somewhat of a performance and somewhat like, this is what my brain is letting me be vulnerable about. And I'm not trying to be dishonest or anything, but I think that's just that's the nature of media. And we're in this weird time where the lines of everything seem to be blurring and disorienting. And yeah, so I hope whenever the Rizzler's done that it keeps going on and he can be a normal little kid. But I love that little guy. Okay, everyone, I'll see you later.